And so when we talk about the vortex, what we really want, like everyone to find a way of experiencing is your vortex, no matter who you are, will take you in at one time or another every single day. Something will happen where you will come into alignment with who you are. It might be a bird that you see. It might be a piece of the sky that you see. It might be a fragrance that comes past you. It might be a piece of a song that you hear. It might be, Jerry talks about a time former in his life experience where he was in such a state of depression he could not pull himself out. And the harder he tried, the worse it got. The more he beat upon himself for being depressed, the more depressed he felt. And then one day he just followed an impulse to go down and sit on the rocks overlooking a lake. Drove for a little while, sat himself there, and a family came. They were not aware of him, would not have wanted to be aware of him because he was sort of lurking and they just proceeded on their happy day. They were nice to each other. They were complimentary of each other. They were excited about the day. They laid out their picnic. They got in their boat. They just beed the happy, tuned in, tapped in, turned on people that they were. And as Jerry simply sat and observed them, his depression lifted off of him because he stopped facing the issue. He stopped struggling in the injustice. He stopped going down his list of pros and cons and rights and wrongs. In other words, he just let go for a moment, and like the cork that floats back to the surface, he came back into his alignment. So what we are really encouraging relative to things that are this big and this deep and this prevalent and this important, you got to pull out the big guns. You got to pull out all the stops for it, which means you got to be in the vortex before you even contemplate it. You got to be in tune with who you are before you even contemplate it. And when you are, you're seeing the world through the eyes of source. And when you're seeing the world through the eyes of source, if a child is learning to walk and walks into your room and isn't very good at it and falls down, you don't say, "Get up, you little dummy." You know that this child will find its balance, and you give it only encouraging words. And yet when someone is out of the vortex and not feeling good and misbehaving and treating people badly, there's a tendency to say, "You need to be excluded from our society, and we need to punish you into compliance, and we need to educate you into a better way of life." And none of that works, because you just cannot motivate from outside the vortex. You can only inspire from inside the vortex.